Welcome back with another banger. It's the React Files. Hope you having a good night. If you haven't already, please take a second
just to smash that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell,
just to make sure the algorithm knows what's up. So let's get straight to it.
British teenager Jay Slater has now been missing for 11 days, and none of this is making any sense. For starters, the island of Tenerife is relatively small, and experts say that if he had collapsed trying to walk back to his accommodation, which was the initial leading theory, one of their drones, helicopters, sniffer dogs, or dozens of on-the-ground officers would have spotted him by now. Because of this, investigators have now shifted their focus to Jay's trouble with the law back in the UK in hopes that it could provide some new leads. For example, in 2017, Jay and a group of his friends, who were 13 at the time, were attacked by 3 Asian men who were said to have decided to take vigilante action in response to out-of-control youth in the area. Coincidentally, in that attack, there were initial fears that the men took Jay because his friends couldn't find him. Only later did it turn out that he was actually just hiding under a car. Don't think that's the case in 2024. More recently, Jay and his 7 friends narrowly escaped jail time for brutally attacking the then 17-year-old Tom Hilton with a golf club, machete, and an axe. Tom Hilton also appeared in the news last year after he was jailed for breaking into a property, stealing a car, and taking police on a 70-mile-per-hour chase through the streets of Lancashire. In court, it was revealed that 2 of Jay's friends were working as runners for a large-scale drugs conspiracy that used kids to flood the city of Accrington with heroin and crack. The 2 men Jay went back with the night before he went missing were described as British, in their 30s and 40s, and they both returned back to the UK early despite their Airbnb booked for 7 days. They have been questioned by local police, and so far nothing more has come from that lead. And to make matters just even more confusing, eyewitnesses say that they saw Jay the morning he went missing walking at a fast pace in the opposite direction to where his accommodation was located, despite the bus only costing €1. The mayor of Tenerife threw yet another troubling detail into the mix when he told reporters that several locals had seen Jay safely watching the Euros at a bar, but police have yet to confirm those sightings. Now, as always, with cases like these that make no sense, social media rumors catch fire, like him staging his own disappearance to escape drug debts or his family and friends somehow being involved. Authorities say that speculation like this almost always negatively impacts the search and can often be very harmful to the missing person's loved ones. As of right now, the search for Jay continues, so as always, I'll keep you guys updated as we know more.
Hopefully Jay's alright. This story sounds real sketchy.
In February 2020, urban explorer Rhythm Ryder explored an abandoned house at an undisclosed location with his exploration partner Zay Clark. According to Rhythm, the house used to belong to an old woman who had passed away. In complete contrast to most abandoned houses, most of the woman's possessions had been left untouched, indicating that the house had not yet fallen prey to looters and squatters who often take things that aren't theirs. All throughout the house, the 2 explorers find everything from beautiful tableware and silverware to ornately woven tapestries and a fully equipped bar. Based on the calendars they found in the house, the property hadn't been occupied since August 2018. Just a few minutes into the visit, Rhythm and Zay find something incredibly sad and disturbing.
I've always been worried about something like this happening, and then it did. When we walked in here, we took a few steps in the door, and we saw this on the ground. Now, for those who can't figure that, figure out what that is a body stain. And you can see right there, there's a walker. So, unfortunately, it seems that the woman who had lived here had taken a bad fall, landed on the floor, and that's where she expired, unfortunately. It's extremely sad to us. It took us a good 20 minutes to decide what we're going to do here, and despite it feeling weird, we figured we still need to tell the story because this is a good reminder to everybody that you need to check on your loved ones. It seemed this woman had passed and was laying here for God knows how long before she was found, so check in on your loved ones, guys.
Right in the middle of the hallway, a human body stain can be seen on the floor next to a walker, indicating that the old woman probably had a bad fall and couldn't get up. Sadly, she passed away and her body decomposed before anyone could save her, which is a terrifying way to die. There appear to be signs that the woman's family members tried to sort through her things after she passed away, but overall her various belongings are in perfectly good shape, including her bathroom supplies, which were still there at the time of the recording. It's hard to watch the footage without having conflicting feelings. Even though the house is beautiful and you can easily tell that the woman who lived there with her husband was a talented, outgoing person, it's incredibly sad to see how she met her end. Overall, the footage should serve as a reminder to check in on your loved ones every time you get the chance, because nobody deserves to pass away like that. Since 2020, Rhythm with Ryder hasn't gone back to that location.
Yes, make sure you check up on your elderly loved ones, even those who are not elderly. That's crazy how we left a stain in the carpet like that.
They're hiding the true answer to this question from us. How is it that people who used horses and buggies constructed gigantic, intricate buildings like these? They allegedly only used hammers, manual saws, and basic tools. Does that make any sense to you? Look at these grand structures and ask yourself, how could they achieve all this with such primitive methods? It makes you wonder if our historical timeline is accurate or completely fabricated to hide something. It gets even scarier. What if the dates on these buildings are wrong? Imagine if that number 1 wasn't a 1 at all. Our history could be off by 1,000 years. This brings us to who could have built these intricate structures. Have you ever heard of Tartaria? Tartaria is a colossal empire that conveniently gets left out of mainstream history. But you can never truly erase history, as many references can be found in old maps and documents. Tartaria was a highly advanced civilization with technology and knowledge far beyond what we can imagine. They have even been credited to have built the Great Wall of China and many of these intricate buildings pictured earlier. Could Tartaria be the missing link that explains these architectural marvels and historical anomalies?
We've been lied to on so many levels. I agree, there's no way we could have made those buildings with such primitive tools.
Y'all, they are lying to us so bad, they're lying as if we did not live the last 4 years. Let me show you this first, and then I'll show you just how bad they're lying to us. So this is Sewer Lid. By the way, dude, I think you're way better than the Sewer Lid. Anyways, he bought groceries 2 years ago, and the price has quadrupled.
Walmart order from 2 years ago for the whole month worth of groceries. 45 items cost $126. I did notice this reorder all button, and I wanted to see how much it would cost now. Now? This order of 45 items for 1 month would have cost $414.
I believe I speak for everyone when I say thank you so much, Sewer Lid, for your due diligence and your astonishing discovery. And since he gave us that discovery, I can show you how bad they're lying to us. Y'all, tell me why Google is telling us the inflation's up 3.3%? Up from 1.2%? Now, I'm not a mathematician, but for it to double twice, 100 to 200 and then 2 to 400, that would be 100% inflation a year. Or 200% over 2 years. Now, you might say that, oh, that's just overall inflation, not food. They tell us 7% in 2022 and 6% in 2023. Not 100% and 100%. Even further, they're claiming core inflation as lowest since April. I didn't say that, they said it. They just straight up lie to us all the time. Like, it's just absolutely crazy to even think about the amount that they lie to us.
$414. That is 4 times more. How? Like, what?
Shout outs to Sewer Lid and shout outs to Inspired by the King. Now we can't forget that the portions got smaller too, but seeing that number, that's insane. I wasn't expecting it to be that high. I was thinking maybe 250, but bro, 400 and something dollars, like psst.
So this woman, she's losing her eyesight, and she'll do anything to get it back. So one day, she hears about this famous spiritual faith healer in Brazil, and she thinks maybe he can heal her eyes. So she travels to Brazil with some friends, and they get there, and she meets this faith healer, and she has a session with him, and he has her sit down in a chair, and he tilts her head back, and then he pulls out a scalpel, and he starts cutting right into her eye. Now the woman, let's call her mother-in-law, because she's my actual mother-in-law. But we'll get to her in a second. First, let's talk about the faith healer. So the faith healer, his name's John of God. And this dude claims that his God or whoever will heal people through him if he does his hocus pocus and touches them. Of course, he has no formal training in medicine. He's never been to med school. In fact, he dropped out of elementary school in the 2nd grade. But regardless, he considers himself a healer. And one day, he just decides to travel around around Brazil and tell people, hey, look, I can heal you. And people fall for it. In fact, they're really into it. And over time, he slowly builds a following. And his following becomes so big that he eventually builds a spiritual healing center in the middle of this small town to accommodate all of his visitors. And there, John of God becomes known for performing what he calls psychic surgeries, which is exactly what it sounds like. He uses no anesthesia, no sterilization, and he does these medical techniques on people that just don't make any damn sense. Like he shoves surgical forceps up people's noses to heal them, or he'll scrape the white of someone's eyeball with a scalpel in order to heal them. It's weird. Like someone will come in with back pain and he'll be like, let's scrape your eye with a scalpel, that'll heal you. But anyway, he claims this works. He claims that he's cured people's cancer. He claims that he's healed multiple sclerosis. He claims that he's helped people walk who couldn't previously walk. And while he's doing all this, he allegedly doesn't take any payment for all these healings. But he does, of course, accept donations. And he sells things to his followers, like special healing pills that are just placebo. And he also sells, and I'm not making this up, bottled holy water. And so by doing all this, John is starting to get really popular in Brazil. In fact, he gets so popular that ABC notices and they do a 1-hour special on him. And they treat him not as if he's a con man, which he is, but they treat him as if he's actually healing people. And specifically on this special, they interview a woman named Lisa Melman. And Lisa Melman, on this show, she gets on camera and she loudly declares that she has breast cancer, but that she's going to quit all her chemo and all her traditional cancer treatment, and instead she is only going to let John of God treat her. I don't know, I guess he's going to stick forceps up her nose and that's going to cure her breast cancer. Oh, but it gets worse. A few years later, after the ABC special, someone very influential learns about John of God. Oprah. And Oprah decides she's going to investigate and she's going to see herself if any of this is real. So she travels to Brazil and she spends a bunch of time with him. And she dedicates several episodes of her very popular TV show to praising him and his work and all these people he's allegedly healed. She even has Lisa Melman come on one of those episodes. And miraculously, Lisa claims that her breast cancer is now gone. She says her sessions with John of God cured her. And Oprah and her audience, they applaud this. But then, 2 years later, sadly, Lisa Melman dies. It turns out her breast cancer hadn't actually been cured. She just thought it had because that's what John of God told her. In fact, when she stopped her treatment, her cancer got progressively worse, and she was apparently in a lot of pain when she died. Of course, Oprah never gets on TV and mentions that part. Regardless, the damage has already been done. Oprah has endorsed John of God on her show twice and exposed him to an international audience. And from there, his business just explodes. People are flying in from all over the world trying to get healed by him. At this point, at his spiritual healing center, he's healing over 10,000 people a month. And he's making bank. He's getting tons of donations. He's selling trinkets and bottled holy water and those placebo pills left and right. And he's making more money than he's ever made. Allegedly, he's making over $14 million a year just on those pills alone. But then, in a weird twist, at some point, John of God gets diagnosed with stomach cancer himself. And so does he use his magical spiritual healing powers to heal his stomach cancer? No, of course not. He goes to a regular-ass doctor, and he gets normal treatment, and he gets surgery in a normal hospital, and he does 5 months of chemo like anyone else who would have stomach cancer. And of course, he recovers in like a year. And then he initially denies to everyone that that happened, because I guess him using traditional medicine is bad for his business. So anyway, my mother-in-law hears about this guy, and she wants to travel to Brazil to see him. See, my mother-in-law, she has an eye disorder called macular degeneration. And unfortunately, every year, she loses more and more of her vision. And she's lost most of it at this point. And she feels like, hey, maybe this John of God guy can help bring her eyesight back. And she's not dumb, she's not gullible, she's just desperate for a cure. So she comes to me and my wife, and she tells us that she's going to Brazil. And me and my my wife are like, oh, please don't. You know, we're worried about what could happen to you. And this guy is obviously a fraud and a turd for telling people he can heal them. But unfortunately, she doesn't listen to us. She'll do anything to fix her eyes. So she goes to Brazil and she meets him. And she has a session with him and he sits her down in a chair and he tilts her head back or whatever. And he pulls out a scalpel and he does the thing where he scrapes the white of her eye with that scalpel. He then has her put a cover over that eye. And he tells her that in a few days, she can take that cover off and her vision will be healed. Somehow, in both eyes. Meanwhile, me and my wife are there in the US and we're just waiting to see that when that cover comes off, if her vision is actually healed. Now this is where the story goes off the rails. You aren't ready for this. Around this same time, a Dutch woman named Sahira, she's struggling with some mental trauma. And she sees this guy on Oprah's TV show, this guy named John of God, who claims he can heal people. So she's like, hey, maybe he can help heal my mental trauma. So she flies to Brazil and she shows up to the spiritual healing center and she waits in line and she sees him a couple of different times. One of those times she sees him, something exciting happens. John of God offers her a private consultation and she's super excited. So she waits until everyone's gone and then he invites her into his office. And while she's there, he takes her into the bathroom and he makes her hand touch him inappropriately. And afterwards, she's like, that was weird. And like, I don't know, maybe that's just part of the healing process. So she goes back later for another private session with him. And this time, when they're alone, he takes her into the bathroom again, and he straight up essays her, like with a hard R. And here's the thing. The mental trauma that Sahira went to see him for was specifically sexual trauma. So she went to see him and told him about her sexual trauma, and his response was to essay her. And so poor Sahira doesn't know what to do. I mean, she feels violated and sick to her stomach. And she wants to tell someone, but at the same time, she believes this man is actually healing so many people. So she decides to not tell anyone. And she buries it deep down with all her other sexual trauma. Until 4 years later, the Me Too movement happens, and Sahira finally finds out she's not alone. So she posts about her experience with John of God on Facebook, and then she gets invited onto a Brazilian TV show to talk about it. And there, on that show, she meets a dozen other women, all who say that John of God essayed them too. And this TV show airs, and suddenly, all of Brazil knows about these accusations, and everyone's talking about it, and bam, more women come forward. And so in response, the public prosecutor's office for the state, they're getting tons of accusations from a lot of different women. So they set up a hotline and an email address specifically to receive all of these accusations that they're getting about John of God. And in the first day that hotline goes live, nearly 200 women come forward saying John of God essayed them. And then in the weeks that follow, even more women come forward. And eventually, that number of women who claim that John of God essayed them is over 600. And of course, John of God denies this. He claims that all 600 of these women are lying. But then his own daughter comes forward, and she claims that he had essayed her too, from when she was the age of 9 to 14. He would tell her that he was healing her, but instead he would essay her. And she said that he finally stopped essaying her when she was 14, because that's when she got pregnant by another man. And when he found out that she was pregnant by another man, he beat her so hard that she lost the baby. In fact, his daughter said, and I quote, "My father is a monster." So anyway, all of this becomes public. And police are like, all right, it's time to get him. And they issue an arrest warrant for him. But John of God, he ain't going out easy. He immediately withdraws $9 million from his various bank accounts. And he goes on the run, and no one can find him. He's just hiding out somewhere, like he is gone. But about a week later, I guess the pressure is just too much for him. Like he knows he's fucked. And he turns himself in. And they throw him in jail. Here's his mugshot. And eventually, he goes to trial. He's found guilty. And he's sentenced to a grand total of 489 years in prison. Good for him. And okay, so at this point, I know what you're thinking. You're like, Ray, did he do anything horrible like that with your mother-in-law while she was there? First of all, let me just say, none of that SA stuff was public when she went to visit, so none of us knew what had been going on. And while she was there, lucky for her, she said she met him in a room full of people, there were no private sessions, so no, nothing inappropriate happened with her. But it's also worth noting that she eventually took her eye cover off. And so, did John of God end up healing her eyesight? No, he did not. Shocker. Shout out to Brazil.
Shout out to Brazil. That dude was a real dirtbag. It's crazy how it hit so close to home. Shout out to the real Ray William, how he was able to tell that story. Wow. Talking about things being full circle. 6 degrees of separation. 459 years. He deserves that and more. Yeah, that's terrifying for sure. Like real Terminator 2 vibes. Could regenerate, made from living tissue. Yo, this thing is accelerating fast when it comes to AI.
In the following video, a group of friends are playing with a toy known as Simon, when out of nowhere, things take a very creepy turn. Now it's worth noting this toy only has one function, which is to generate a pattern of lights and sounds for the player to memorize and win the game. It's a simple game of short-term memory skill. However, in this video, it appears that the toy was acting beyond its intended purpose. Rather than generating patterns, it was answering questions.
Okay, I'll go. Okay, is my shirt black? Dude, this thing is possessed, man. This thing is possessed.
That's good. No.
Am I a girl?
You a girl.
Oh!
Okay, so it knows.
Dude,
Now the video was taken at a house party where a group of friends gathered in the hostess' little sister's bedroom. The young sister was away from home. They had grown bored of the party downstairs, so they hung out here with all the toys and games. But little did they know that staying up here was a big mistake. This is their video.
Dude, it was acting up earlier.
Yeah, crazy.
You guys keep being here.
Alan said it was all good.
Really? Hanging out.
This thing is possessed, man. This thing is possessed. All right, okay. Ask me a question.
What color is the sky? Wait. I guess I need to ask yes or no. Is the sky blue?
No! Dude, come ask a question.
It's probably just like broken.
Dude, get over here. Ask it a question, dude.
First of all, it's not even yours.
Alright, let's really test it. It's kind of exhilarating.
Dude. Yeah.
Am I black?
Oh my god.
Oh! It knows, dude. It knows.
On the green button or something.
That's good. No.
Am I a girl?
You a girl. Stupid.
Oh!
Okay, so it knows.
Dude, it knows, dude.
So
This thing's it's like one of those Ouija boards, dude.
Yeah,
it knows. Oh.
My mom played with one.
Have you guys not seen horror movies?
Oh, dude, the picture, dude. The picture.
Oh. She drew that?
Yeah, dude.
Dude, this will actually like tell.
Okay. Are you with us in this room?
It's not gonna work. Put like 2 fingers on it or something.
Oh! Dude! Oh my gosh, that's so creepy. That is so creepy, dude.
Okay, is this find that thing?
Dude, it's just on the floor, man.
Yo, are we actually hunted right now?
Dude, I'm like actually kind of scared, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, like, what even is that?
You should put that down.
Like that.
Or just
Okay. All right. Well, let's get real crazy.
They come from outside.
I'm about to leave.
I'm leaving.
Did you guys hear them there? What?
Window?
It came from right here. Yeah. You guys hear that? We're on the second floor.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Fine. That's enough. That's enough.
Feeling totally creeped out, the group hurries out of the room, leaving everything behind. The tap on the window convinced them that something strange was indeed happening. According to them, it didn't make sense that someone was outside tapping on the window, considering that they were on the second floor. There was also no balcony. If no one had been outside, then who or even what was at the window? While the group has yet to come up with an answer, they can't help but think that the figure in the picture had something to do with this. Viewers believe the toy was being used as a conduit for communicating with the group, and that the drawing, which may be the child's so-called imaginary friend, was responding to them through this toy. Although it's not certain if that's the case, the friends fully believe that it was.
What color is the sky? Wait. I guess I need to ask yes or no.
So then, just what exactly was going on here? As with most videos, this one remains a mystery.
Yo, that felt like something out of a movie. The imaginary friend really in the room with them while they playing? I think that room definitely has an entity.
This has been hidden for centuries. The Eiffel Tower's real purpose is extremely different to what you've been told. Most people believe it is just a symbol of Parisian culture and the industrial age, but there is far more. Its secrets could have revolutionized the world. The Eiffel Tower was completed in 1889 for the World's Fair. It was designed as a temporary exhibit showcasing modern engineering. But here is where it gets interesting. There is overwhelming evidence that the tower was actually built as a giant antenna for wireless electricity experiments. Nikola Tesla visited Paris in the 1880s, and during his visit he met with Gustave Eiffel and shared his vision of a world powered by free wireless energy. Tesla proved that with his Wardenclyffe Tower invention that could wirelessly transmit electricity across the globe. Eiffel was fascinated by Tesla's ideas and incorporated these principles into the design of the tower. The lattice structure is not just an aesthetic choice, but it gets even stranger. During the construction of the Eiffel Tower, there were reports of strange electromagnetic phenomena and unexplained lights around the tower. Local newspapers often mention mysterious experiments conducted late at night. Some even claim to have seen sparks and glowing orbs.
Imagine that. That's incredible. It kind of makes sense. Maybe it wasn't just a still structure for people to look at.
The 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
How are you? Great to be here. Thank you.
And please welcome the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Let's begin.
Watching these two come out was like watching in WWE. Like, yes, y'all, we made it to the main event. Well, we almost there. The main event is getting close. November, make sure you rock the vote.
System, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look. If we finally beat Medicare.
Yo, I caught Biden lacking on TikTok Live at the presidential debate. This man right here was literally powering up mid-sentence. Now, before I show this to you, it's important for you to note that this guy declined doing a certain test before the debate that he wanted to do. Watch this.
Continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden.
Was it too fast to catch? You know Biden moves with speed. Here it is again.
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden.
So who are y'all gonna vote for? Let me down in the comments. I hope you've been watching this. It's hilarious. One more time for the road.
Look, if...
look.
Shout out to Inspired by the King. Yeah, he caught him lacking right there. But I think they should do a few more debates. I don't think this one could be settled in just one round. It's like it's going to be a 12-round fight.
Move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we can do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
Joe Biden was an utter calamity in the debate tonight. I will never forgive him or the DNC establishment who propped him up and sent him out on stage to embarrass the United States of America. I actually got emotional at times during the debate, to be completely candid with you guys, because Joe Biden is in charge of the nuclear codes. This is the president of the United States, and he was struggling to form a sentence. Why hasn't his family stepped in? It's probably because they're power hungry as well. You know it's bad for Joe Biden when the CNN panel is unanimous on the fact that this is really bad for the Democrats and Joe Biden needs to step off the ticket. Joy Reid and the women of MSNBC looked like they were in mourning, and they also admitted that panic was setting in for the Democratic Party. When you've lost MSNBC, you've lost it all, Joe Biden. If I had to bet, Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris were popping champagne and tap dancing tonight at Joe Biden's horrible performance. Joe Biden says all the time that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy and he's going to protect democracy. Well, Joe Biden, if you really cared about democracy, you would step down and pass the baton to a new generation. Part of me has to believe that Joe Biden was a sacrificial lamb tonight. They sent him out on stage so there would be no doubt that they have to replace him. I don't see a path forward for Joe Biden after this performance. During the debate tonight, Donald Trump spoke about the immigration crisis, inflation, the economy. Joe Biden spoke about Roe v. Wade, but he couldn't even get his answer right on that, and that was a layup question for Joe Biden. Now, sources are saying that Joe Biden had a cold, but that's unacceptable for me. If all it takes is a common cold to take down the president of the United States, then he's not up to the job. In this debate, what you saw on split screen side by side was someone who was confident and calm and someone who could barely form a coherent sentence and mumbled pretty much the entire time objectively. I would have loved hearing solutions to our major issues going on in this country, but the format didn't really allow for that. What this debate did show is that everyone around Joe Biden has been lying. They say he's spry, he's quick, he's sharp in private. Well, we're not seeing any of that when he's out on the stage. Joe and Joe Biden are at a post-debate party right now, and from this photo, it's clear Jill Biden is wearing the pants in this relationship. She is the one driving the ship. If she cared about her husband, she would tell him, let's go back to Delaware and retire. Now, RFK Jr. hosted his own event online tonight where he answered Donald Trump and Joe Biden's questions in real time. A Quinnipiac poll came out yesterday that had RFK Jr. at 11%. He might see a bump up due to Joe Biden's horrible performance. Only time will tell. All right. Thank you guys for liking and following. Drop a comment and tell me what you thought about Joe Biden's performance in the debate tonight. What did you think about Donald Trump? I am very patriotic. I love this country. I always say I would rather live here than anywhere else, even on America's worst day. The fact that Joe Biden is in charge of the nuclear codes is unconscionable. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.
Shout out to It's Link Lauren. First time me seeing this guy. Very articulate and passionate. I agree with him on one thing. When you lose MSNBC, oh, you're in trouble.
And he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser. The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now. And the fact of the matter is, what he's telling you is simply not true.
The bar has gotten so low that my hope is that for all you guys at home who are watching this, you saw a guy who's a sick man and you saw a guy who's arguably a bad man on the stage at the same time. And I really hope the conclusion is a resounding, we have to do better than this. These two men are an embarrassment to the United States of America. That debate was an embarrassment. I actually felt bad for the moderators. I don't even know what there was to follow up on. They weren't making any sense. Trump, too. When he's not making things up, he's making things worse. He didn't say a single positive thing about the United States of America except that he's great the whole night. And Biden is clearly past it.
They've been hiding technologies like crazy, suppressing them. There's no way you could tell me in the 21st century on planet Earth, with the amount of geniuses that we have walking around, that we're still driving around in combustion engines and launching rockets and satellites into space using chemical propellants, basically controlled explosions to get into space. Are you kidding me? We're using combustion engines in the 21st century? I got to get on a plane in Miami and fly for 38 hours just to get to Cambodia. Why is it taking me 38 hours of my life to go from point A to point B on this planet? When we had the supersonic transport back in the 80s, you can go from New York to London in less than 3 hours. And now it's the 21st century and we've gone backwards from that. planes flying at 400 or 500 miles an hour. Are you kidding me? It's by design. All of this is by design. It's all been suppressed. And the biggest tool for humanity that has been suppressed is anti-gravity. The U.S. Navy has patented anti-gravity. The patent describes a device that uses a microwave emitter to create a high-frequency electromagnetic wave through a cavity and create a polarized vacuum. This polarized vacuum in turn reduces the mass of the weight of the vehicle. The first invention that came out way before this one got approved, and the guy disappeared, and they were able to answer the patent office questions, so it got abandoned. And then miraculously, a few years later, the Navy pops up with the same exact description and it's approved, and they own it. These people at the very top of the pyramid are suppressing, oppressing, holding back these advanced technologies.
3 tourists are under fire after they jumped the barrier at the top of a 300-foot waterfall to take pictures. One of the men can be seen posing perilously close to the edge of the falls, tempting fate with the 317-foot drop.
Now that's crazy. That's absolutely insane and dangerous.
They've been keeping this from you. This is the underground city that was found beneath Los Angeles by a man named Warren Shufelt. It was discovered using a device he invented to detect underground tunnels and caverns. Shufelt mapped out a network of passageways stretching for miles beneath the city. And here is where it gets crazy. His maps indicated a central chamber filled with gold and advanced artifacts. Shufelt said that upon analysis of the artifacts and the scriptures found within the passageways, they all pointed to a lost continent named Lemuria. Despite his groundbreaking findings, city officials abruptly shut down his excavation. They officially claimed that the tunnels were old subway lines, but this is where they messed up. The Los Angeles subway system didn't begin operation until 1990, over 70 years after Schufelt's discovery. So what subway lines were they referring to? Some speculate that they were referring to an ancient civilization that had access to a subway-like system. Some have even gone further to say that the city officials had knowledge from the future. They knew that Los Angeles would eventually have a running subway system in the years to come, therefore it would be the perfect cover-up, perfectly concealing its true origins.
Amazing. That's crazy. The trains weren't built until 70 years later. That's pretty creepy.
Angel numbers. The numbers come from one source, and they stream down through the multidimensional universe down into this third dimension. We're living in a numerical light matrix. A lot of synchronicities where you see these digits of numbers. These things are just showcasing that we are living in a programmed matrix. When you see them, there should be an attention being paid to where you are, what you're doing at that moment, and what's going on around you, because opportunities usually arise somewhere around these synchronicities. My master number is 44, which is a super powerful number. 2 or 3 times a day, I'm seeing 444 somewhere. When I see the number, I pause, and then I evaluate my current situation. And a lot of the time, either remember something that I forgot to do, I see an opportunity to help somebody, or I recognize a situation that if I make a decision either this way or that way, it can be good or it can be bad. 13 for me was very powerful. It's one of the most powerful numbers in the Vedas. It's a very spiritual number, and it's a sacred number. It's associated with the divine. It's said to bring good luck and prosperity to those who embrace it. So this could be why the mainstream says, hey, this is bad. Because if you embrace it, you're going to see good things and have good tidings and have good experiences. They like fear. Fear allows them to control and dominate you. No, 13 is killing, murder. We're going to make whole movies about the number 13. And on the Friday the 13th, you're going to get stabbed in the head while you're sleeping and all this kind of crazy stuff. So it's all a play on the 13, which has really started out to be known as a divine sacred number. The language of God is math. That is the language of God, mathematics. With mathematics, we can speak to any race in the entire universe, because once you reach a certain level of sentient understanding, you're going to learn mathematics. And because of mathematics, we can communicate with anybody, including the creator itself.
Şakaya så båg jag med dem shit.
Look like the way I drive in Grand Theft Auto. Look like this person was doing this intentionally. How he gonna honk his horn when he leave?
The Hawk Tuah girl has gone into hiding. Haley Welch became the queen of the internet after appearing in a viral TikTok. And while she's poised to cash in, it appears she's finding fame challenging to handle. Welch has gone into virtual hiding at her family home in rural Tennessee, with the tight-knit community creating a protective wall around her. She's not staying completely out of the limelight, though. Branded hats featuring the now infamous phrase have brought in a whopping $65,000.
Yeah, I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way, and I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good.
Just take a look at what he says he is, and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. The reason I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest round. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah. You swing. I know you swing.
Okay,
let's not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to turn.
Let's not act like children.
Yo, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do?
And that's a wrap. Hope you enjoyed tonight's rabbit hole. Before we go, I want to give a huge shout out to Shane on becoming the channel's newest member. Thank you, Shane. I appreciate your support, peace, and blessings. If you haven't already, please take a second
just to smash that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell.
Just to make sure the algorithm knows what's up. So what we gonna do, y'all? That's right. Run these numbers up. Thanks again. Until next time.